What's up, party people and party peopleettes?
What's good?
It's your man Jay,
It's your man Twan.
and this is Tech Taste Daily. So we are going to follow up on a video that you might have seen. If not, definitely check out the link in the description for the one that preceded this, which was about UFOs and Harry Reid. And somehow, while we were speaking about Harry Reid, we got onto the topic of Bob Lazar. Yeah! So during that video, we told you guys that we promised we would do a follow-up because we didn't really get into the minutia of the Bob Lazar and the Element 115 issue. So, what do you know about Element 115?
I know nothing.
Okay, fair enough. So, way back in, I believe it was the 90s, a video came out that shook the world. It was, at that time, he didn't reveal who he was, but it was on the news, I think in Las Vegas. And they were interviewing this guy who said, I worked for Area 51. Not I like Jamal, like he said he worked for Area 51. And he had all these details about working on UFOs. So of course, everybody was shook, it blew up. But then he started getting death threats from the men in black. So he went public and he was like, y'all ain't gonna kill me. He said, if they murder me, now you guys know who I am. And it turns out it was this guy, Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar had a history of going to school at MIT. He was an inventor. He was selected actually by the government because he was kind of like on the outskirts. He was this weird, crazy, mad scientist type dude who was in the process of creating a jet engine for his car.
I saw something about that in his Corvette or something.
Yeah,
You're quite the Bob Lazar aficionado, aren't you?
I just watched the documentary. And it's fascinating to me. And I highly recommend, I don't remember what the name of the documentary is, but it's on Netflix. Definitely check it out. So, the big controversy is Bob Lazar stated back a long time ago, decades ago, that the element that ran the rockets, so the UFO fuel, if you will, was an element that they called Element 115.
115, 115.
And just recently, guess what was added to the periodic table?
Element 115.
Yeah, son, what now? Oh, it burns, doesn't it? Oh, it's the truth. Oh, the truth hit. Yeah.
So he wasn't bullshitting then.
Well, that's still up for debate.
About that part, at least.
Exactly. Just because the element has been identified, does that really mean that it runs UFOs? We can't say.
Well, if it didn't exist before.
I'm saying though, right?
And he knew about it way back then.
Right? Thank you. So that's what this article is about.
I mean, then they tried to disqualify all of his knowledge. And now this thing that he said existed that nobody even knew about back then, all of a sudden it's science now.
They did. I'm saying they ran a huge what do you call it? Smear campaign against him. Just, man, his family suffered. He was forced out of his job, like all kind of whack stuff, man. And so he still survived. He's still to this day rocking and rolling. And he did a podcast on the Joe Rogan show.
I saw him on Joe Rogan. That was dope.
He breaks it down. It's very interesting.
All right.
So this article basically is kind of discussing, was Bob Lazar telling the truth about Element 115? So I wanted to, I haven't read the article yet. I wanted to read it with you guys, and let's decide if he was full of it or if he's the real deal.
All right. Let's see what's up.
Is the lady
in the
gonna read
summer
it?
of 2013, It was confirmed by scientists from the University of Lund, Sweden, who bombarded a thin film of americium with calcium ions, created the element 115, or better, the formation of 4 nonbantium atoms that disappeared after 100 milliseconds from the emission of alpha particles. But why can this element be so important?
What is unipendium?
I don't know. They're using a lot of big words that I'm not familiar with.
Some other element I've never heard of before.
It kind of makes me believe it more. It seems more credible.
All the elements that appear in the periodic table besides uranium, whose atomic number is 92, have a paralyzing existence before disintegrating. And these super heavy elements known as transuranic elements are radioactive and have shorter than the age of the Earth's half-life, which makes them no longer found either in our planet or solar system, if they ever were.
See, so that's what I was going to say. I'm just kidding.
I was like, what happened?
That is pretty interesting. Number one, that this
Break it down,
element
come on.
does not disintegrate as quickly as all of the other elements thus far that have been named. So that's a property that's got to be interesting in some way, form.
It doesn't break down as fast, or it breaks down faster.
It doesn't break down as fast,
Okay.
according to, if I understood that correctly. So, and they also said, didn't they just say that it's not found? It's not easily found in the solar system or something like that? Makes them no longer found either in our planet or our solar system if they ever were. Transuranic elements or radioactive and have shorter than the age of Earth's half-life. So, I don't know. It sounds pretty compelling so far, but let's let her read some more and see what's up.
Element 115 was identified as the fuel of the alleged extraterrestrial ships that crashed in the United States at the end of World War II and during the Cold War with the former Soviet Union. This new element could hold the key to a powerful source of energy and control of gravity, and the physicist Bob Lazar spoke of this discovery. In fact, when Bob Lazar appeared in an interview on the Las Vegas TV channel in November 1989, few took his explosive statements seriously. He claimed to have worked on a super top secret base of the U.S. government called S4 and located near the famous Area 51.
So far, so good. I don't see anything that's refutable. I mean, it's debatable, but I think they're making a pretty good case for this being real so far.
I'm on the fence still.
Let's see what they say.
Bob said he had analyzed some ships of extraterrestrial origin captured by the military. According to Lazar, his task was to investigate the propulsion system of those devices as a physicist and try to reproduce his advanced technology as far as possible. With the passage of time, the physicist Lazar had determined, together with some collaborators, what was the secret of the alien retro-technology operation and of the propellant used by extraterrestrial ships, resided in an element that is not found on our planet. Much heavier than lead and orange, element 115 said Lazar, had extraordinary properties that made it an extraordinary source of energy and the key to generating artificial gravity.
So now that they have it, is that
that's
true? That's the question. So he claimed that the element did all this stuff, but now we actually have the element, and that's what
much more interesting now.
Right?
Okay, I was like, who gives a shit about some new element? What difference does it make? But so if the element is the key to generating artificial gravity, and now they found that shit, when did this article come out?
Last year? No, 2019.
So we're gonna have to do a follow up and see what's up with element 115.
Yeah, definitely.
It's very interesting.
He also explained that his purpose was reverse engineering, that is, the attempt to replicate extraterrestrial technology, much more advanced than terrestrial technology. Although he did not provide too much technical data, Lazar pointed out that what could be verified is that the energy source of those ships was a super heavy element, the 115. It is an element that is not found in our solar system, but could be present in other areas of the universe as a supernova byproduct.
Crazy.
According to Lazar, the element 115 was subjected to neutron bombardment inside the ship, which produced its transmutation in the element 116 called livermorium, which is much more unstable. This immediately initiated a reaction that had two extraordinary effects.
You can't say this nigga's not smart. Bob Lazar knows what he's talking about.
Livermorium?
I never heard of it.
They making up some corny ass names. What was the other one?
Because it makes
Unpenetranium or some shit.
It makes you live more, so it's livermorium.
Livermorium.
That's like, what's that movie with the
Like somebody from Livermore, California thought of the name.
What's the movie with the blue people? Unobtainium.
Oh, yeah. See, they had unpenetrable Unpentium.
Unpentium.
Unpentium. Why they gotta be two uns?
Man, why they gotta be so
One
corny?
un would have been sufficient.
Did you ever hear about the scientist that named the jellyfish?
No.
Or no, not the jellyfish, the seahorses. And it turns out that male seahorses can actually have babies. And really, the scientist was just mistaken. And they were like, hey, you say that's the male? Yeah, that's the male seahorse. Well, why is it having a baby? Because the males have babies.
This guy.
That reminds me of the way that they're naming these. Just crazy lazy about it, man.
All right. Wait. Livermorium. That's what we're
Livermorium, yes.
All right.
The first consisted of emitting particles of antimatter which, coming into contact with other matter, disintegrated and produced an enormous amount of energy, which was used in a highly efficient generator. Even more surprising was the second effect, the creation of a wave of what he called gravity B, a strong gravitational field, through 3 devices on the basis of the ships, which could be directed at will to move into space.
But that's all theoretical,
Thus,
right?
continued Lazar, the
That's just
force of
according to
gravity
him.
created by the disintegration of element 115 and the transmutation in Livermorium means that the spaceships can travel from one point to another of the universe instantaneously. The formula has allowed both places to approach the folding space. Lazar also said that the U.S. authorities managed to get about 200 pounds of this material from the hands of the aliens.
Oh.
In the Dubna Nuclear Research Center, Russia, where the ununbantium was synthesized, several international teams have been trying for years to get new chemical elements. Element 114 was discovered there and, 2 years ago, a team of Russian and American scientists obtained information on the 115 that remained awaiting confirmation. In summary, the consequent bombardment of element 115 with protons leads to the creation of the element 116, Livermorium, which immediately decomposes and produces antimatter. Antimatter collides with normal particles, creating an enormous burst of energy, which can be used for propulsion.
Come on.
It is very likely that element 115 may also be the famous exotic matter warp drive needed to create traversable wormholes, and has been the subject of a reference document on defense intelligence (DIA) recently. References UFO-Spain.
So now, audience, YouTubers, YouTubettes, what do you think? Do you think this might have some credibility? Because it's not like dude was just like, yeah,
Mind
space
blown.
continuum and warp engines make the UFOs go. He was talking some serious scientific
Back in 1989.
decades ago. Dropping science, dropping knowledge, son.
But at the time, talking about some element that didn't exist. And they're like, yeah, whatever. Get out of here with that imaginary shit.
Yep.
But now we have the imaginary shit.
Yep. And its properties seem to be lining up with what he said that it would do. I'm telling you, man.
So we're about to have warp drives and shit.
Yeah, it's on its
But,
way.
they probably got that shit already.
What is our?
So this is from 1989.
Yep.
Or not, this is from 1989. This is a new article where, regular scientists outside the military have been able to synthesize.
And they said that was in 2013.
Oh,
they
is that
discovered
that was from 2013?
I think so. Yeah.
I haven't heard anything about this.
Nope.
So what's tripping me out right now is this Bob Lazar stuff was from 89. He said all that stuff back in 89. It's 2020. That was 21. That was 32 years ago. Right?
Yep.
And when he said that stuff back in 89, it was from what, like a decade earlier that he had done the work.
It's exactly
Right?
That is correct. Yes.
So now that's 42 years ago.
Right.
So if they hadn't figured that shit out by now, and Bob Lazar knew all that shit back then, you know what I'm saying?
I do.
So-
yes.
It's what I always say, man. If we're seeing it, if we're reading about it, if we're reading an article about it, if we're seeing it on the news, that's not the state of the art,
That's not what we have in reality.
right? That's old shit. They're like, whatever, let the peasants know about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Secret stuff.
So if they're telling us that we just discovered this thing 10 years ago, They're already flying around in warp drives.
That's why they were trying to murder Bob Lazar. They're like, you're 10 years early. He's like, it's been 10 years. Come on, let me just tell the people. People deserve to know. They're like, no. Top secret.
You're 30 years early.
Man, well, okay, yeah, exactly. 30 years
Like,
early.
you remember, what was it in the 2000, 2001, when Desert Storm and all the shock and awe and all that?
Yeah.
When we saw the F-117
Right.
stealth fighters and the B-2 stealth bomber.
Yep.
That's some 60s and 70s shit.
60s, man.
And people were seeing UFOs flying over Arizona and Nevada and shit. Wedge-shaped black triangles flying in the night sky.
And those are
They're UFOs.
Those are
No, motherfucker, those are F-117 stealth fighters that the government didn't tell you about until 20 years later, when they had to fly those shits into the desert in the daylight. And
Yep.
people saw them, and then they saw people getting bombed. And they're like, oh, those are fighters. They're fighting on the side of the U.S. Those aren't aliens.
And it really works to their advantage because, man, I was talking to the homie the other day, and he was like, I don't believe none of that UFO stuff because, look at drones. If you saw a drone back then
Yeah,
moving
like 20
around like
years
that,
ago.
you would think it was a UFO.
Yeah, changing direction,
Exactly.
going up and down, left and right.
But this is traversing wormholes. This is not that.
We're
You know?
taking a bit of a leap.
Exactly. But I'm saying it works in their benefit to not release it for that period of time, because then by the time it comes out, people like the homie are going to be like, UFOs. That's some BS.
Actually, you know what? That reminds me of another book by the same Daniel Suarez chap.
Oh,
And I'm drawing a blank on what it's called.
he's not the dude that wrote about Skippy.
No.
That's my dude.
Yeah, that's Columbus Day by I'm drawing a blank on all the books right now.
We need to do a video about that. We need to do a video about that.
Yeah, we could do that
That
next,
whole
actually,
series.
because we could just
Yes,
talk
yes.
about that. We don't need no research there. I
Word.
should probably look up the name of the author. But
So, I think that's enough to wrap it up, right?
yeah, that's enough to wrap it up.
So you guys let us know in the comments, what do you think? Is Bob Lazar? Is
Bob
Bob Lazar
Lazar
full of it? Or is he the real deal?
And I'll put the links to the books in the description.
If you like what you see and you see what you like, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, baby.
Smash the like button.
Tech Taste Daily.
Base in the space means peace. See you later.
All right, y'all. We'll catch you on the next one.
Base in the space means peace. See you later.
Easy.
Tech Taste Daily.
We out.